श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतसे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna. So we are going to have Dinabandhu Chaitanya today speak something on mathematics and Bhagavad Gita. You know, just in case we did not know that there is a lot of math in Gita other than the fact that there are 700 verses in Bhagavad Gita.
How many are mathematicians?
I'm saying that also. She is architect, so architect has everything math only in it. I think Mataji works in insurance or something, right? So insurance claims are all about math. You are also cooking in the kitchen, everything is math only. Do chamcha, haldi.
She is a banker, so she will be the best.
Mataji, Prem Bhadra's Mataji is engineer. I think what, electrical or what? Electrical engineer. So many mathematicians. Everyone is a mathematician. So please ask him questions.
Hare Krishna. So at the outset, I would like to first of all say that I had no, kind of intention of presenting this, but only on the instruction of Krishna Kishore Prabhu and by his blessings, I am daring to present this in front of all the assembled Vaishnavas. So the presentation will be divided into two parts. The first part will be a bit mathematical, but then it will be very interesting because we are going to see the applications of maths in nature. And we are going to actually try and dispel this fear of maths, which people generally have, to a great extent, and understand how maths is actually, yeah.
Can you just give a background of how you landed up over here?
Okay.
Motivation.
Yeah, I'll do that. And the second part is about the maths in Bhagavad Gita. So we'll just conclude with that. Coming to your question, Prabhuji, actually, I just came across this book maybe around 8 months back when Prabhuji gave it to me, and I believe it was.
Which book?
The book. The book is called as the book.
The book.
The book.
So there is no, it's not even written here. It's written in the inside. So this is written by Jagannath Mishra Prabhu, who is
Yeah, likha hai na? The book.
Yeah.
The
To me, it's the book.
The book. That's all. No, we say na the book. Yeah, like that.
the book. It's the book.
The Dalai Lama and the
Yeah. So this is written by Jagannath Mishra Prabhu, who is a disciple of Suhotra Swami. And I mean, there is no other, much details about the author, so I couldn't really contact him. I wanted to really, but I couldn't. So my study began at that time. So we were planning to present this in so many counselor meetings, but somehow it never materialized. Today, the day has come. So I had prepared this long back, but now I really polished it very nicely. And basically, this whole book is not mathematical. It's only some chapters which are mathematical. So that part I have, tried to study and find out.
So it's your study of this book?
Yes. It's not
Part of it. Very small.
Small part of it, which itself is so deep and. So
But otherwise, the book is about?
In general, it's about mathematics only, but there is also other parts like mathematics in Bhagavatam and mathematics in cosmology. Basically,
it's a book on maths from this.
Mathematics in Krishna Leela, mathematics in
Chaitanya Leela.
So I'm not going into too many things because I don't want to.
So you'll complete one by one book.
Yeah. So today it's only focusing on Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so without taking any more time, so I'll just start with this first part, which is required for us to understand the rest of the topic. So you may be wondering why do we need to know about Fibonacci, but then the reason to know about him is because that will be very much required for the second part, which is in Bhagavad Gita, what is the mathematics. So Fibonacci numbers, those of us who are engineers know it very well, that these are very special numbers which were discovered, that means it was already existing in nature, but only found out by this scientist called Fibonacci, who was born way back almost 900 years ago. And this is his introduction in brief. And he was the one who actually introduced our decimal system, which they call it as the Hindu system, but it originated in India, the 0 and 0 to 10. So he was a very famous mathematician, and basically this is how it all began. It actually began by looking at the reproduction of rabbits. That's how most scientists, they accidentally come across something based on some other research which they're doing. So this is what they try to do. Basically, it's a little hypothetical situation, but then if there are a pair of newly born, rabbits, two of them, and assuming that at the end of 1 month, they are able to reproduce and produce exactly one more rabbit.
हाँ नीचे रखना पड़ेगा।
इनको निकालने में कैसे?
चप्पल निकाल। इधर लंबा उठाओ।
So basically at the end of 1 month, these two rabbits are producing one more rabbit, and it is assumed that within 1 month of its growth, the rabbit can again produce another child. But then it's always only one child per pair of rabbits. So this is what ends up when you actually, go ahead with the calculation. So you see, at the end of first month, there's only the first two, male and the female. Okay, so then what happens at the end of the second month is like this. Yeah, you see now there is a young one as well. So basically there are two pairs of rabbits now. Then what happens is now at the end of the third month, oh my god, this is big. Oh yeah. Now at the end of the third month, the original parents, they have also produced another pair, and this, the ones which are just born in the second month, they are not yet produced any children because they have still not completed 1 month. So then basically there are only 3 pairs, and then what happens? At the end of the 4th month, you have 5 pairs because the children now will have further children, so they will become grandparents, the original couple. So basically, if you look at this right hand side, this is what is nothing but the Fibonacci series 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, and then if you continue like this, the sum of the previous two numbers is equal to the current number. That means 1 plus 1 is 2, then 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, and 3 plus 5 is 8, etc. etc.
Switch off.
I hope this is clear. So basically it is summation of the previous two numbers. Now we'll understand why this is so important. So you see, this is how it goes. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144.
So every month the rabbits that they produce
Yes,
increase like
exactly.
this.
So now,
Is it irrespective of whether the males are females or n number of males or
this is a bit hypothetical. We are assuming that they don't die, first of all. We are assuming that all are alive eternally. And we are assuming that they produce only one pair of rabbits at the end of this. This is more to
Just to explain how
it is more of an explanation. So it's not like multiple males or females. So now the interesting thing is, if this continues at the end of 1 year, you will be basically having 144 plus 89, that is equal to 225. 233 number of rabbits. Now the simple rule is this. Already we have discussed that. Now what about Fibonacci sequence in nature? So that's something which is very important to understand. So first thing here is, as you can see, this is the sunflower. So if you carefully observe the seeds which are arranged in the head of the sunflower, they are actually following the number of spirals are following the Fibonacci series. How is that? We'll just see that. Now you will observe over here, in this photo more clearly you can see that you start going along any one spiral, either from clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction. I could have shown if I had a pointer, but I
Board है क्या?
किसी के पास है
You have a picture of that Fibonacci circle.
yeah, that's coming. That will
If
come.
you show that, then they'll be able to relate it over
Yeah,
here.
yeah, there are several more examples.
No, that circle. So they'll look for that circle.
Yeah.
They may not have to show.
It's okay, we'll. So basically, there are two types of spirals here. One is that you can go this way.
You can show it हाथ में ऐसे दिखा.
Yeah. Okay.
ये बुक सब बाजू में रख दो, माइक हाथ में ले लो बस.
Okay. See, if you observe this, you'll see that you can count the spirals this way, right? This is basically the counterclockwise direction. If you go towards the center of the flower, and another way to look at it is start this way. That means you go in the clockwise direction.
Inward outward.
Yeah, but the amazing thing is, if you go clockwise and counterclockwise, you don't get the same number of spirals. You get different number of spirals. For example, here, yeah. So this is the just diagrammatic representation of the sunflower. Now you see. So in this case, we are going clockwise, and we are getting exactly 34 spirals. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Up to the center, it's going.
It's true for all sunflowers.
Yes, I mean more or less. It's the general pattern. It's not. I'm not because I haven't really done it for every sunflower. But this is a general thing. Now, if you go the other way, counterclockwise, you get 55 spirals and not 34. But amazingly, both 34 and 55, just going back, are nothing but Fibonacci numbers. You can see here. Look at this, 34 and 55. So which means that sunflower is actually having spirals which are in the Fibonacci sequence. Now, of course, now you may say this is just by chance. I mean, if not you, but some atheistic
All the
person.
devotees here, nobody says only chance.
Yes, I am assuming that. Yeah. So now it's not just in sunflower. You will see that in many other natural, natural flowers as well as fruits, this particular sequence is present. For example, flowers. Many flowers are there which have
Sit down, sit down, sit down.
which have. No, I think I prefer to stand.
No, you are being recorded.
Oh, really?
Everybody,
Cannot see it.
the Vaishnavas who see you online will.
They'll only see the lotus feet.
Yeah, they will only see your lotus field. Leave his lotus field.
Okay.
Your wife will also want to see it tomorrow.
So you see here, there are many flowers which have exactly 34 petals. What about pineapples? Now if you see here, this is a pine cone. Now you observe this over here, there are exactly the same thing, only the spirals are a bit not that clear over here. You could get easily confused. But then the way they have drawn it, you will see that it's perfectly coming out to be 8 spirals, which are again, it's a Fibonacci sequence. I mean, it's a Fibonacci number, because 5 plus 3 is 8. Now you count it the other way, you get 30. You
This is the
see?
next number in the series.
Which is again the next number in the series. Just like 34 and 50.
ये कर दो।
नहीं सिर्फ ये वाला.
सोफा कट कर दो। इसलिए मैंने लाइक।
Just like 34 and 55 are also two consecutive numbers in the series. 34 plus 21 is 55, 8 plus 5 is 13. So basically, this is also having the Fibonacci arrangement, right? They're consecutive. Now, many flowers have number of petals in Fibonacci. These are just some examples. Lilies and irises are having exactly 3 petals. Buttercups and wild roses are having 5 petals. Corn marigolds 13 petals and Susans 21 petals. All of which are Fibonacci numbers. Of course, there are many flowers which may not be also having this, exact numbers of Fibonacci. But then we are trying to unearth the patterns in nature. That is what is science all about. So here are some again examples. If you actually count each of this carefully, you will see they are all in Fibonacci numbers. So what about the most common and the cheapest fruit available, the bananas? Even they have Fibonacci numbers. If you actually observe carefully, the banana has some flat sides, right? I mean, certain finite number of sides, and they are generally either 3 or 5. Either 3 or 5. Then probably next time we have a banana, we could do this more carefully.
Flat side is it?
Like you see here, there is, when you pull it out, basically 5 fields or 3 fields. Generally, 4 is quite rare. 4 is quite rare, which again is a part of the Fibonacci sequence. Next, pineapple we already discussed in detail. Now you see here, this is of course 5, 8 and 13 counted in different ways for the pineapple. Now, coming to the most important part of discussion, that is the golden ratio. Now golden ratio is something, the name has been purposefully given as golden because it is something which is very special and something which really, you can say, it is a very important number in mathematics. So that's why the word gold is used over here. Of course, there are many other words for this, we'll come to that. So golden ratio is related to Fibonacci numbers. That's why we did Fibonacci first. And this is approximately equal to 1.618. Now what's so great about it? It seems just like another decimal, or I mean just like any other real number. But then the greatness is over here. This is of course the symbol which is used. In Greek, this is called phi. So that's why we write phi equal to 1.618. Now how is this coming actually? Now as I mentioned, it is also known by golden section, golden cut, divine proportion. It was Leonardo da Vinci who was a famous French artist who actually gave this name, divine proportion, because it is for them, it was something so divine and something coming from some other realm. That number mattered so much to them. Divine section, mean of eras, etc., etc. So what exactly is this golden ratio? So this is how it is defined. If there are two numbers such that the ratio of the sum of those two numbers to the bigger of the two numbers is equal to the ratio of the bigger number to the smaller number. Okay, now this is a bit confusing, so I'll just come back to this. Okay, look at this. This makes this very simple. A and B are two numbers. Okay, let's assume that they are integers. Now A is bigger than B. A is larger than B. So A plus B is the whole length of that line, what we have drawn there. So A plus B by A, if it is, oh, there's a equal to missing, I think over here. Okay, it will come. No, 1 minute. There is equal to that. So there is a equal to that. Whenever, if this is true, A plus B by A is equal to A by B, then that A by B is what becomes the golden ratio. So how do we get that? If you put A by B as equal to 5, then 1 plus 1 by 5 equal to 5, because there you do the division of the fractions. So A by A plus B by A, that is 1 plus B by A. But B by A is 1 by the 5, which we already defined. So basically this equation comes, it's okay even if we don't go into the details of this, but when you solve this equation, now this is a very, very beautiful equation actually, because this equation, when it is solved, basically what you get is 5 plus 1 equal to 5 square. You observe here, if you just take the LCM over here, you will get 5 plus 1 equal to 5 square, right? Now you solve this using your normal quadratic, whatever the solution is there. Oh, I don't know, I'm not used to this. Going back, yeah. Yeah, so then this is what you get. This is nothing but a quadratic equation, which when solved gives you something like this. Now, this number, if you observe, there is a plus minus sign. There is a plus. Yeah, plus or minus, yes. So this formula is having plus minus, but we don't take the minus sign. The reason we don't take minus is because in the root under that square root which you see, there is 1 minus 4 into minus 1, which is 1 plus 4, which is 5. And under root 5 is a positive number. So if we take 1 minus root 5, it becomes negative, which cannot be possible when A and B are positive. So therefore we take only the plus sign, and that 1 plus root 5 by 2 is what is your 5, which is nothing but the golden ratio, which comes out to be exactly 1.618. Now 1.618 is also found in many other calculations. For example, cosine function. Now when we study trigonometry, we might have heard of this, this cosine and sine, right? Adjacent by hypotenuse and all those things, opposite by hypotenuse. So basically, this cosine and sine, when we take 36 and 54 are related to 5. Now what is the speciality of 36? Is 108 by 3 and 54 is 108 by 2. Now you see, somehow 108, many times we see in our, we chant 108 number of mantras, we have so many things to do with 108, but even in maths, 108 is not an ordinary number. Everywhere it comes actually, we'll see in the next few slides also. So, why I am writing this over here is because we'll need this later on, this 2 cosine 36. Now, the beauty of phi is, the reciprocal is also, if you see, 1 by 1.618 is 0.618. So, there is practically very, very few numbers which when, taken the reciprocal of, will have the same digits after the decimal. 1.618 and 0.618. So 618 is common in both, which is extremely rare. It is extremely rare. Practically, they haven't actually mentioned any other such numbers which are possible. So that makes it, it's highly unusual, and that also makes it so special. and so much usable.
Bhagavad Gita will come, don't worry. Just somebody is thinking that, कहाँ आ गए अब
Yeah.
Since 618 is
Yeah.
fixed or it is continuous? You are just pressing.
No, it's one. Basically, it's 1 plus root 5 by 2. So 1 plus root 5 by 2, we are cutting it to around 3 decimal places or 2 decimal places. If you don't cut it, then you can get go on and on. Up to you. But it's rounded off to 3 decimal places over here. So now, the next thing is, there is also many figures which actually have this golden ratio. For example, a rectangle where the length and the breadth, rectangle only has two things, the length and the breadth. So they are in the golden ratio. That means 1 is to 1.618. And that is known as a golden rectangle because it has certain special properties. Now, the speciality of this golden rectangle is it can be further and further subdivided into squares. And then one square, one golden rectangle, and so on and on. And what you get is something like this. You start, if you go the reverse way, you start with this square.
Unit side.
Yeah. This is a square of length 1. Square means all sides are equal. So all the sides of the square are exactly 1. So what I will do, I will add another square of the same length. So now it becomes a rectangle of length 2 and breadth 1, right? Now observe carefully, what I am doing now is, the length 2 which has now come, I am going to make a square of length 2. I have a rectangle of length 2, but now I am going to make a square of length 2 and place it on top of this. So that's how this comes now, this orange one. Now please remember this is a square. But now what, if you add the orange and the pink, what do you get now?
Square.
No, a rectangle. A rectangle of length 3 and breadth 2. Are you getting the point? Now what is the next step we do here?
A square of 3.
Exactly. So, no,
Rectangle of 3.
Yeah, you're right. Actually a square of 3. Because if you see now, total length is 3, right? So we make a square of 3. Yeah. So what you get now is a rectangle of length 5 and breadth 3. So now you observe that these are all in Fibonacci sequence. The first one was 1 cross 2. The second one was 2 cross 3. The third one is 3 cross 5. So 1, 2, 3, 5, which are all Fibonacci numbers. So you continue this way, then you get 8 now, the next one. Right? Because now 5 plus 3 is 8. Then you get 8 plus 5, 13, and so on and on. So basically, now if you connect all the end points of the squares, which we saw here, this spiral which you are getting is nothing but the Fibonacci spiral. So basically what we are doing is, that will be shown over here in the next slide. Yeah, so you can see here. We connect, starting from one end, go to the other end of the diagonal, then you again connect like this, then connect like this. So you can see that one way to draw the spiral is go up and come down, other way is go down and come up. But both are Fibonacci spirals. So now, what is so beautiful about this is, it will be shown in the next slides how it is there in nature. But this golden triangle, which you see over here, all of us know what a triangle is, but then in this particular triangle, there is something special that the ratio of the sides are in the golden ratio. That means this is the isosceles triangle, two sides are equal, D and D, and B is not equal to D. So D by B is here equal to 2 cos 36. If you look at this calculation, there is something known as the sine rule. So from that sine rule, all these calculations can come, and 2 cos 36, if you remember a few slides back we saw, it was nothing but the golden ratio. So this kind of a triangle is a golden triangle. So we saw golden rectangle, now we have seen golden triangle. There is also something called golden pentagon. Pentagon, where again, the ratio of the diagonal of the pentagon to the side will be equal to the golden ratio. So all of these are having plenty of application, which we will see. Okay, now exactly what we are coming to, the relation between the Fibonacci and the golden ratio. What is the relation? You will notice that as you keep dividing the numbers in the Fibonacci sequence, right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. These are the first 5 numbers. So I divide the second number by the first number, the third number by the second number, the fourth number by the third number. So what I get is 2 by 1, 3 by 2, 5 by 3, 8 by 5, 13 by 8, etc. etc. So as you will observe here, it comes closer and closer to 1.618.
You converge at 1.6.
Yeah.
And then you stay here.
And then it stays there. I'm going to show that in the next slide. So basically the Fibonacci sequence, every term is nothing but the golden ratio of the next term or the previous term. You're getting the point. So basically Fibonacci sequence is nothing but the golden ratio in action. So that is why both of these are very, very highly interrelated. Now, if you observe, you finally come to the golden ratio. So here you will see, this is the computer generated, now you are asking, you can see here, there are 10 decimal places or more over here. So this is what you get actually. But when you round it off, you get 1.318. So when you go, now you observe over here, that as you go to very huge numbers, 75,025, this is the Fibonacci number, when you divide by 46,000, you get something like very close to the previous one, 1.618033988. That means 7 decimal places it is same only. That means there is no difference practically, because that difference is 10 power minus 8 or something like that. So it doesn't make any difference. Now, so this is what I was planning to, I was saying. So when you divide over here, what you observe, this is what happens. You can see that it converges to 1.618. Can you see this? We have just shown few values here. And not only this, the beauty is even the reciprocal converges. You can observe over here. Now what I am doing, I am dividing the first number by the second number, the second by the third, instead of second by first and third by second. Even then, you will see that it converges to 1 by 5, which is 0.618 basically. Very close to 0.618. It will converge finally. So that is the beauty of this golden ratio. Okay, now, golden ratio in nature. Now you observe this, you will be amazed to see this spiral, which is actually known as the Nautilus shell. It is exactly matching this. More or less, you could say 95% is the same. What we just drew now, few slides back, is the same spiral which is there in this Nautilus shell, which is found in nature, in the seashores. So this is one of the applications. Similarly, you see other types of shells are also based on the Fibonacci spirals. Here you can see even more clearly. Exactly the same you can see over here. Now, what about, so one thing is the golden ratio is also known as logarithmic spiral because it's an increasing radius. That means at every spiral by definition means you keep increasing the radius. That means you start from here, you take a circle of small radius, then you make the radius bigger on the way itself, you make it even more bigger, and that's why you end up getting a spiral. So this, you will see that this logarithmic spiral is there in nature. Okay, now I'll speed up a bit. So one thing is this. So this is the famous broccoli from Italy. So this photo it's very striking actually to see something like our cauliflower, but the original cauliflower which was grown in Italy. So you will see from the top, if you observe carefully, these are all actually the logarithmic spirals. You can see that the radius at the bottom is huge circles and at the top it's small circles, but the circles very, very effortlessly merge into each other. It's not that there's one circle and below that there is another ring and below that another. It's all connected, which makes it a spiral. So it is not like rings one on top of the other, it's actually connected. So therefore, this is nothing but a logarithmic spiral. In other words, it's nothing but a Fibonacci spiral. So we can see not only in plants and vegetables and fruits, in architecture, Fibonacci is again there everywhere. You can see here the Egyptian pyramids. So it is seen that, the Pythagoras theorem, when it is used on the pyramid, it actually gives you this 5, the value of 5 over there. Similarly, this is the Parthenon, one of the famous buildings in Europe. The exterior dimensions, you can see the yellow lines here, they are in the Fibonacci ratio. That means 1.618, the golden ratio. This is about architecture. Now coming to, so this is music. So you can see that even the violin is actually based on the Fibonacci ratio. If you see, there are 3, there is a scissor kept at the top, the scissor at the middle and scissor at the bottom. So the distance, okay, I'll stand up for this. So this distance from here to here and this distance from here to here, the ratio is exactly 1.618. Because the guy who invented the violin found that that is the best ratio for producing the sound which it does. So the music, in fact the violin especially is based on this golden ratio again. So for those of us who are interested in music, there's a lot from this. Okay, now, the next thing is golden ratio in art. So this is again Da Vinci, one of the famous French artists. So when he drew this Mona Lisa, he actually did it based on this golden ratio. So you can see that the length of her face to the breadth of the face is exactly in the golden ratio. So from the chin to the top, and then from one eye to from one ear to the other ear.
That means everybody's face is approximately in golden ratio?
Not necessarily. I'm coming to that. That's the next point. That's the next
That's
point.
a perfect ratio.
But if it is, that's perfect.
Oh,
But
It's
it-
not always.
Yeah. It's not always.
Something else is true. He'll show it in the next slide. He shows it.
Yeah.
Something else is always true.
Now this is what is known as the Vitruvian man, which was again made by Da Vinci. So where he actually measured all the different dimensions of the human body and found out that the golden ratio exists in many places. So there's a detailed thing. I'm not going into that now. Dr. Stephen Margaret says that he actually developed this beauty mask. That means when somebody wants to look beautiful or handsome, then one should actually apply the golden ratio. So that is, for example, here. So they have done a lot of research on this. How when the face is exactly in this ratio, way back in 164 AD and 500 BC, people knew about this. So therefore, it doesn't depend on civilizations. It doesn't depend on fairness or blackness so much as it does on this, because this is the basic criteria that the dimension of the face should be in the golden ratio. Yeah. So therefore, there is a pattern in which we perceive something as beautiful. Now, this is again the two-dimensional thing which they have done. Yeah. So if you not only look at the face, if you look at our own fingers, if you measure the length of two consecutive fingers, let's say the little finger and the ring finger, it's in actually the ratio of 1.1:1.618. Most of us will have it in that ratio. Similar is between the the middle finger and probably the little finger. So these are more or less equal to 1.618. So these fingers also have this ratio. Now look at this. If you look at the length of the the four different bones which we have in between the knuckles in our finger, the first one is of length 2, any unit you take, whatever units it may be, millimeter or centimeter. Second one is of length 3, third is 5, and the fourth is 8. 2 is 2, 3, 5, 8, which is the Fibonacci number again. So it is very much true in all the human beings. Even the length of our arm is in the Fibonacci sequence. You see as it is mentioned over here, if you take the whole thing and then you take only this part till the wrist, that is in the ratio of 1:0.618. Now, the next thing is, this is already mentioned, of course. This is in detail. I don't think I'll be going much into this. But if you read this, actually, you will be amazed. I don't know if you can see this. There are 4 different colored lines here. One is green, one is yellow, one is pink, and then there is also blue, which unfortunately is not visible here. But basically, the description over here tells us how the different parts of the face of the human body is actually in this ratio when compared to another part. So this is the description of this. The next thing is the teeth. Even our teeth are in golden ratio.
Should be golden.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you see, especially the front 2 teeth. So the front 2 teeth form a rectangle. So that rectangle is in the golden ratio. And not only that, the distance you will see from the half of the lips, that is half of the smile, and then the distance from the center to the third tooth is also in the golden ratio. And the other way you can see again, the distance from the center to the second tooth and the first tooth. So blue and yellow lines, that also
You
is.
just chant the Fibonacci mantra. Hare Krishna बोलते में क्या Fibonacci हो बेचारा.
Just 5 minutes.
Then Bhagavad Gita.
Good. This building of the climax, so you take Bhagavad Gita seriously.
Anything other than Bhagavad Gita is slightly.
Yeah. Now coming to the human body again, you will see that the length of, if you actually measure our height, so let's say I am 6 feet, and if you take my height only up to the waist, it's waist means up to the abdomen. So that is exactly in the Fibonacci, the golden ratio. That means this till my waist, that is 0.618 times of the entire body length, and that we will see is more or less true for everyone. Similarly, here different color lines are there, which show that how even the chest length is actually in golden ratio to the length from the throat to the heart. You can see the two lines over there. So basically, several symmetries are there. This is the golden mean gauge, which is showing how 0.618 is the ratio. There is the gauge for this. Yeah. Then, yeah, this is about the other examples. Peacock feather. Peacock feather is also in the golden ratio. This is the birds. The length of the stem, again, not in every case, but in many cases. The distance from the center of the flower to the edge of the petal. So that is also in the golden ratio. Insects are in golden ratio. Simply the eyes of insects. These are flowers already we have seen. Even our electronics gadgets, many of them have been made in this particular ratio. CDs, for example. If you observe, CDs are also in this ratio. Okay. Now, what to speak of all this chota-mota stuff, even the macroscopic level, that means the level of the universe, we see that this particular ratio is there. For example, the galaxy, if you see that it is exactly like a Fibonacci spiral over here. This is the Milky Way galaxy. Okay. Now, this basically, till now we have been only discussing about these two stuff, that is the Fibonacci and the golden ratio, to understand how important it is and how it is appearing in nature. All that we have done till now is to unearth the patterns in nature. They are already existing. Just like we do data mining, we take out relevant data. So we just, a mathematician would just take out or see whether the pattern exists, and it has been found that it does exist. Okay, now let's come to the main part, that is the mathematics of Bhagavad Gita. Now, if you observe,
You can call all the Mathatis back, most of them ran away, I guess. 2-3 years there. They are also wondering where to go away.
so this was just
Bhagavad Gita shuru ho gaya, Haribol.
this was just the warm up for the real climax which is coming now. So Bhagavad Gita, I'm sure, all of us sitting here are Bhakti Shastris and above, so I'm really not qualified to speak on this, but whatever little I know, I'm trying to say over here. So basically, I've just explained or rather written down the different chapters and the number of verses. Our whole focus here is numbers, like it or not. Because Bhagavad Gita is not meant to simply look at numbers, but then we are trying to glorify ultimately the Bhagavad Gita and Lord Krishna who has spoken this by making out patterns even in mathematical patterns in Bhagavad Gita. So the ultimate purpose is to glorify the Lord and Bhagavad Gita, but for that we have to go through a bit of logic and numbers, however much we may like or not like them. So basically you observe the number of verses, this is very important. 46, 72, 43, 42, 29, 47, 30, 28, 34. These are the number of verses in the first 9 chapters. And these are the names, chapter names. Now the next 9 chapters are as follows, right? So you will observe that 42, 55, 20, 35, 27, 20, 24, 28 and 78. So these are the distribution of the verses, which gives a total of exactly 700 verses, 700 verses. Now, looking at it from this perspective, there doesn't look to be any maths involved. Nothing much, just some numbers. But the beauty can be seen when we begin to organize the Bhagavad Gita in groups based on the themes. So, a little deeper analysis is required, for which I am going to show you now this particular dome structure of the Bhagavad Gita. So, this dome structure is very beautiful. Yeah, here it is. Now, you will have to observe this very carefully. So, basically what we have done here is to divide the entire Bhagavad Gita into a circular structure consisting of 4 quadrants. So, in mathematics, the 4 parts of a circle, when you draw the 2 diameters of a circle, then you get basically the 4 quadrants, first, second, third and fourth quadrant. So what we have done over here is, we have started from 2.11. Now 2.11 is a verse number. Now in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna starts instructing Arjuna from 2.11, not before that. Correct? So 2.11 is the verse where he starts. So therefore that is the point, natural point of starting for us. And from there we go down, and we don't just go chapter wise. We don't go, first chapter, second chapter, third chapter like that. Rather, we have divided them into different domes based on their similarities. for example, you will see here there is 62 verses. So these 62 verses are of the second chapter from 2.11 to 2.72. So there are exactly 62, right? 2.11 to 2.72 means exactly 62 verses. We are not taking the whole second chapter. Then what we are doing, the 72 which is over here, this is basically the fourth and the fifth chapter, and 42 which is there, it is basically the third chapter. And then this 47 is the sixth chapter. So now actually, sorry, the 72 is the third and the fifth chapter because both are dealing with Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is third chapter and Karma Yoga Action and Krishna Consciousness is the fifth chapter. So both of them are surrounding the fourth chapter, which is transcendental knowledge, and rather, guiding us towards the transcendental knowledge. So they have been grouped together as 172 around 42. Is it clear? So 42 is the fourth chapter. Then there is the sixth chapter, is exactly 47 verses. We know that. Then again, now coming to the next quadrant, that is this side, you will observe that there is 62, 72, 55, and 20. So the last one, 20, is the 12th chapter, devotional service. Then 55 is the 11th chapter, universal form. Then we have 72 and 62. Basically, this is the core of the Bhagavad Gita, which explains the bhakti. So that is basically the 7th, 8th, and 9th chapters, which are grouped over here. So basically, this, if you see, the 7th and the 10th chapter are pretty similar. They are opulence of the absolute. So the 8th and 9th is the 62 verses, and the 7th and the 10th is the 72 verses. So that is how they have been grouped based on the themes. Now, this completes the first 12 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, if you go to the top part, what you will observe is that starts from the golden line in between, which you see, that is 12.20, which is also known as the Dharmamritam verse. From there, 12.20 is the last verse of the 12th chapter, so next is 13.1. So 13.1 to whatever is remaining, that is up to 2.10 here, is the rest of the circle. So now again there we have divided based on the themes. So for example, here the 13th chapter has 35 verses and the 14th chapter has 27 verses, and the 15th chapter has 20 verses. So here, basically what has been done over here is, there is a 13 and 14, if you see, totally it gives us 62 verses, which has been grouped over there, because 13 and 14 deal with three modes in Sankhya philosophy. Then 15, 16, 17, 15 is Yoga of the Supreme Person, 16 is Divine and Demoniac Nature, 17 is Divisions of Faith. So all of them together have been grouped in this 72, this one, that is that dome over there. And then comes the 72 verses on this side, that is basically the first quadrant, because the 17th chapter gets over here already, it's getting over here. So here we directly start with 18.1. So in 18th chapter there are 78 verses, but we are not including all the 78. Why? Because Krishna speaks only 72. After 72, Sanjay starts speaking. 18.73 onwards, it is Arjuna and Sanjay speaking, not just Sanjay. Arjuna speaks in 18.73, says Nashto Moho Smriti Labdva. And then Sanjaya basically, takes over for the last 5 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. So that is why they have been clubbed with the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is observing the armies. And till 2.10, where Krishna doesn't speak till 2.10. So of course there is no particular reason for grouping this last dome, but whatever is remaining has been clubbed together over there. So that forms the last 6 verses of the 18th chapter. First chapter is 46, so it becomes 52, and 10 of the second chapter is 62. So that's why 62 in the last dome. So this whole construction, if you observe, it is obviously 700 verses because we have not missed out anything. But there are some very, very wonderful mathematical patterns in this which we are going to look into. First thing which you can see is, there are some numbers written over here. For example, there is a golden line and there is 432 and 268. That is basically some of the verses on the southern hemisphere. Now I think hemisphere word is a good word to use over here. So northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere if we take, the southern hemisphere has exactly 432 verses and the northern hemisphere has exactly 268 verses. Now we have not done this division randomly. We have done this division based on the themes. Amazingly, these two numbers, 432 and 268, are exactly in golden ratio when taken with 700. So I'm going to show that now in the next slide. Yeah, so first of all, the number 432 itself is a very, very beautiful number. Why? Because it has three important numbers included in it. What are those? 108, 144 and 260. So that means 4 into 108 is 432, 3 into 144 is also 432 and 2 into 260. So now that means I can divide this southern hemisphere into 4 parts and I look at the 108 verse or I look at the 144 verse. Now we look at this. Yes, here it is. Now this southern hemisphere itself, I said it's 3 into 144. But even that 144 is grouping so beautifully. I mean to say subgrouping. The group is the whole thing, but there are subgroups in this southern hemisphere. What is that? 3rd, 5th, 7th and 10th. That is 144, right? We already discussed 3rd and 5th together is 72, correct? 7th and 10th together is 72. We already discussed this one and this one 72. There are only two 72s here. So basically that's 144. Then 2nd, 8th, 9th and 12th. That is basically 2nd means the 62 verses. We are not taking the whole 72. Then 8th is over here, 62. Actually part of the 62 it is, not fully. But 8th plus 9th is anyway 62. So 62 plus 62, that is 124. Plus 12th is exactly 20. So 124 plus 20 is 144.
वो 44 लेके आने गलती है.
Oh, sorry, that is 144. That's not 44, that's 144. And then there is the remaining chapters which automatically again form 144. You don't have to do any manipulation. 4 and 6 and 11 again are forming 144 verses. That means, see, normally when you divide a number into 3 parts, it's not that everything fits perfectly into those 3 parts. But here you see that even those 3 parts are perfectly fitted into 144. This is one thing. Now 432 is not just 3 into 144, it's also 4 into 108. That's the next one. So here you observe the 108 verses. From 2.11, if you just cut out 4 lines at intervals of 108. So you will observe that the verses which come out are 4.3, 6.4, 10.8 and 12.2, which are all extremely important verses. I'm just going to show that here now. So here you observe this. 4.3, the very famous verse where Lord Krishna is saying that this ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and therefore you understand and can therefore understand the transcendental history of this science. 6.4, this is talking about Parthanaiven Namutra, that is the divine and the demoniac natures. Right? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. 10.8, the most important verse, we all know it. Aham sarvasya prabhu, Chatushlok is starting. Right? And then 12.2, this is known as Dharmamritam verse, where also Lord Krishna is stressing on the path of devotional service. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service will completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal are very, very dear to me. So you will observe that these 108 verses, all the 4 of them are, very, very crucial verses. The next thing is 2 into 260. Right? We have seen.
Means how did you got this?
Yeah, I'm just showing you again.
वो southern hemisphere में every 108 verse is these 4.
मतलब प्रभु जी देखो इधर से स्टार्ट करो 2.11 उधर से take 108
108 तो बराबर
you see it's written here 108-4.3 that's the first 108 now there have to be 4 such 108s so if you keep on taking then you will get 10.8 also.
So that will be the last verse of the 12th chapter. 28 means the last verse there in the 20.
Yes. Means it's exactly matching. This one, then the vertical line will be 6.4. You see exactly this line is 6.4. Then in between is 10.8 and the last one horizontal line is 12.2.
12.2 or 12.20?
12.20, not 12.2, sorry. Actually, we don't have 12.02 in Bhagavad Gita, it's 12.2 only. So it should be, yeah, you're right, we should say 12.20. It's not 12.2, correct. Now,
Oh, you gave it just now here.
okay, now look at this. It's not just 4 into 108, it's not just 3 into 144, it is also 2 into 260, right? So what is so special about this 216th verse? We have already seen this, that is 6.40, right? It is Parthanaiven Namutra, Vinashastasya Vidyate, Nahi Kalyanakrit Kasti, Durgatim Tata Gacchati. So basically, we already discussed this, which is a very, very important verse where Lord Krishna is clearly delineating between the demoniac and the divine and the good people. So basically, this is the axis of symmetry. We call it axis, right? I mean to say, just going back one picture, you see here, here. This axis, the vertical axis, right in the center is 6.4. So it forms an axis with what? If you go back a bit, look at this diagram. This is 6.4. You go straight up, you see a number 350 written there. So that is the north pole basically. This is the south pole. And what is that north pole? That is the Om Tat Sat verses, which we see at the end of the 17th chapter, where it explains that how the Brahmanas from time immemorial have been chanting, referring to the absolute truth as Om Tat Sat. So that comes right at the top. So this axis of symmetry is the north-south axis of symmetry. And what we saw previously, that is the east-west axis of symmetry. Now both of these are important. Now if you go to, we have already seen this. So this already we have explained. So it divides Bhagavad Gita into exactly 350 verses. That means if you look at it as east and west, it's 350, 350. If you look at it north and south, then it's, what we saw as golden ratio, that is 268 and 432, right? 432 was the southern hemisphere and northern hemisphere of 268. Now, coming back to this now. So you see here 432, 268, 350, 350. Just remember these four numbers. Now, 350, 350 is anyway equal, exactly symmetric, so there is no problem in that. But what about this 432 and 268? Is there something deeper which we can get from these two numbers? Yes, we can. So that is this. Okay. In the northern hemisphere, you will see again there is a 62, 72, 72, 62. Exact symmetry. 62, this side 62, and in between 272. That means the 9th and the 12th are equal, 62 verses. The 10th and the 11th are equal, that is 72 verses. Now, the full Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses. The southern hemisphere is 432. The northern hemisphere is 268. And here it is. So this is the magic, as we have discussed already. Now going back to the golden ratio. If you take A as 432 and B as 268, then the sum of these two is 700. So that 700 by the larger of the two numbers, which is 432, must be equal to the ratio of the larger to the smaller, which is 432 by 268. And in this case, it is exactly equal to 1.618, 1.62, when you round it off. That is equal to the golden ratio. So that means Lord Krishna has instructed Bhagavad Gita in golden ratio. So, of course, that is why golden ratio is great, because it's there in Bhagavad Gita. Now, not only this, now look at the second miracle. We are talking in terms of verses. Now, let's look at it chapter-wise. Okay? Okay, let's go back to these pictures before I go to that. Yeah, look at this. How many chapters are in the southern hemisphere? If you start from 2.
12 chapters.
No, not 2, not 12.
11.
11. Because you start from 2 and go till 12, right?
11.
And so you count 2 in the southern hemisphere?
Yeah, because most of 2 is in southern only. Only 10 verses, that too which Krishna is not speaking, is there.
11.
And then the above?
7.
7. So now this 11 and 7 divides 18 exactly in the golden ratio. So that's the second miracle which is seen over here. Right?
Even in the Kurukshetra war, there were 7 Akshonis on the Pandava side and 11 Akshonis on the Kaurava side.
Yeah, probably this should be added. So you can see, Lord Krishna has at every level of granularity, chapter, verses, he has made it golden ratio. So that shows that, I mean, for people who think that this is a mythology, at least this might convince them, that it is not mythology.
You have to convince all the mathematicians.
Yeah. Now, look at this. The second move of the golden line. So the first,
Just go to previous slide.
Yes.
11 by 7 is not 1.62.
Yeah?
11 upon 7 is not 1.62.
Yeah, it is approximate. See, what happens with smaller numbers is it doesn't come exactly 1.62. But 18, see, 18 by 11 is equal to 11 by 7. That's what we are saying. Now, there will be some error in this because they are small numbers. It's not as big as 460, 432 and 268. There it's more precise. Just like Fibonacci numbers, when you divide it, the first Fibonacci to two Fibonacci numbers, 2 by 1 is not 1.62. 2 by 1 is 2.
Conversion later on.
It converges later on. But still, this is still quite precise. If you calculate, 11 by 7 comes to be 1.57. Yeah, it's not that off. It's just 0.05. Next. Now look at this. The second move of the golden line, if you look at the golden line, it's not just once. There are multiple levels at which it works. Look at only the northern hemisphere. You will see that, not the northern, rather the western hemisphere. The western hemisphere has 350 verses, already we have seen. Now that 350, if you calculate the lower golden ratio, golden number of 350, it comes out to be 260, right? Which is exactly what is there in this lower part. 216 into 2 is 432. Now 216 lower ratio is 134, which is chapter 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 all put together. 134 lower golden ratio. That means if you divide 134 by 1.62, you get 82, which is there in chapters 13, 14 and 15, which is part of 13 to 17. Then you further divide it, you get chapter 16, 17, 52 verses, which is the golden ratio for 82. So you see how one by one at every level the golden ratio is actually, the chapter numbers are actually fitting into it. 350, 216, 134, 82, 52 and 20 are all golden ratios of the previous numbers. So that means the eastern hemisphere, if you see, it is following this. Now, the third move, this is the really beautiful part which personally I like so much, more than even the first and the second, is the third move of the golden line. So here, if you observe, Krishna begins instructing in 2.11 and the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, that is Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, that comes in 10.8 onwards, 10.8 to 10.11. Now that is exactly 322 verses after 2.1. Now there is something special about this 322, it's not an ordinary number, we'll come to that. And not just that, from 10.8, another 322 verses is 18.78. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Parthodharita. That means that is the last verse of the Bhagavad. So 10.8 is basically, forming the kind of a crux, you can say the axis over here, exactly symmetric to both the first verse of when Krishna speaks and the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, not just this. Okay, so let's first see this graphically. What I just said. From here to here is 322. From there to the end is 18.78 is also 320. Now, what about this in between? That in between part is the one which Dhritarashtra speaks, the first verse. Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, Kim Akurvata Sanjaya, that one. Sanjaya speaks the last 5 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. And then the rest of the first chapter where Duryodhana is speaking and all those things. Till 2.10. Now, not just this, you'll observe 9.34 touches 18.7. What is 9.34? Manmanava. Okay. We are 18.78. Yeah, no, actually, we are not. 18.72 Krishna stopped speaking, right? But then we are taking it 322, where it ends is the end of the Bhagavad Gita. That means the end of the 18th chapter, where logically the next part, that is basically we are considering as a circle. This whole understanding is a circular understanding. So, of course, while taking 2.11, we started where Krishna speaks, but when ending, it's not that we are stopping where Krishna speaks. 322, it ends where the Bhagavad Gita ends, which is also fine. It's not that Bhagavad Gita ends is not a significant, because there it's talking about the opulence of Krishna. Basically, I mean, it's a significant word, that's the point. 18.72 is also significant, 18.78 is also significant, but 78 is one of the significant words. Now, 9.34 is the famous Guryatamam verse, Manmanabhu Madbhakto Madhyajimam Namaskuru. So there, it touches 18.72 after 320. So now here 18.72 comes. 10.8 will not touch. 10.8 if you take, it will touch 18.72 after 322 minus 8, that is 314 verses. It will not touch after 322 verses. So basically, this is the symmetry for 9.34. Now, the beauty comes here now, you observe this carefully. This second part which we are saying, 322 verses, the golden ratio of 322 is 198. If you divide 322 by 1.62, you will get 198. And the 198 verse from 9.34 is 15.19. 15.19 is the very famous verse which I am showing over here. Yeah, over here, yes. 15.19 is over there, you can see. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O Son of God. And 15.20, that's why it's the Guryatamam, the It's the most confidential. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise and endeavors to know perfection. So you can see the 198 verse, which is the golden ratio of 322, from 9.34. Now 9.34 is already a Guhyatamam verse. Manmana bhava madbhaktu. From there, 198 verse is another Guhyatamam verse, which is 15.2. That's the point. We are trying to say that the Guhyatamam verses are located at intervals of 198, which we will see further now.
And then the next one is 15.
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Just observe this. Now, this is the point. That Guhyatamam verses are all at intervals of 198. Like here you see this beautiful picture over here. Here it is. The golden pearls. Now, if you observe in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna talks about Guhyatamam, most confidential, there are 4 places. Those are mentioned here. First one is 4.1 to 12. Where, in 4.3 especially, Lord Krishna is talking about this, that this science was lost and, I am reviving it. And then, he says that you are my devotee, therefore you can understand it. That's one place where he says. Then, 9.34 to 10.11, which includes the most confidential verses of Bhakti Yoga, including the Chatushloki. Now, 15.19 I just showed you, and 20, right? But starting from 15.12 itself, which is the Vedanta Sutra verses, up till 16.3, now 16.123 are the qualities of devotees. So that's a total of 12 verses, which are also, basically the Guhyatamam verses, confidential verses. And then the last one is 18.55 to 18.66, where, Lord Krishna is talking about Bhaktya Vijanati Yamanastasmi Tattvata. Right? That is 18.55, and then 18.66, as we know, is Sarvadharman Paritejam Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. And in between all these other verses come Manmana bhava madbhaktu. Again it gets repeated over here, 18.65. So now these 4 are the clusters of Guhyatamam verses, and you will observe that all of them are 12 each. 12, 12, 12 and 12. Ignore that Om Tat Sat for now, that will come to later. But the beauty is, there is a gap of 198 between these 4. You can see from 18.55 to 4.1 exactly 198 verses. From 4.1 to 9.34 exactly 198 verses, and the same between 9.34 and 15.1. The last one, 15. Actually, it's a both big range, but that circle over there, that small circle, represents 15.20. That's the core verse. Although here there is a range given. Okay, maybe I should. Yeah.
Should add the 12 also, na Baba? 48.
No.
198
into 3 is how much? 594 plus 108 is 702. Actually, what happens is these two verses, 15.2 and 18.55, are counted twice because they are part of both the 198 as well as the 108. That's why you are getting the 2 extra. But the point is, this is not the whole range. This is 15.20. This is 4.3 actually. The one verse 4.3. Yeah, and we discussed 4.3 is the 108th verse from 2.11. That is another symmetry which is already there. And this is exactly 9.34. And this is 18.65. That is Manmana bhava madbhaktu. So basically now, these two verses are exactly mirroring. This arc and this arc is 108 verses apart, and they are very similar to each other. That is 15.19 and 18.65. So this symmetry which you see over here, this is again coming from the golden ratio itself. That is from 322 which we discussed previously. 322's golden ratio only is 198. Okay. Now I'm just coming to the end now. It's not much. Please bear with me for the moment.
Not necessarily in the Fibonacci series, but they have this ratio.
Yeah.
Golden ratio.
Golden ratio. See, Fibonacci series are in golden ratio, but golden ratio need not be Fibonacci numbers. That's how it works. Okay. Yeah. So now, so these are the verses which I was mentioning. 18.55 is, that Bhaktya Mahavitanati. 18.66 is Sarvadharma.
Pearl verses.
The Pearl verses, exactly. The Pearl verses. I've just written down for your reference, that's it. But you might already be aware of this. Then you can see 18.65 Manmana bhava madbhaktu. 18.72 is the last verse which Lord Krishna speaks. Have you heard with an attentive mind? Is your ignorance dispelled? And then the last verse is Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna. Okay. Now, this is the matrix, the golden integral of the Bhagavad Gita. So you can see that how the same thing actually, there's nothing new in this. 198, 198, 198 and 108 further subdivided as per the golden ratio. 99, 81, 18, etc. but this will take more time, but I'm not going to this. But what I would like to mention here is the Om Tat Sat verses which we discussed. If I go back a bit, you observe in this particular graph, in the 108 top part, the middle, exact middle, 54th verse is the Om Tat Sat verse, which already, if you remember, we had discussed, was the axis of the North Pole, South Pole, that symmetry. So basically that North Pole is exactly between 15.19 and 18.65. That means it is halfway through, which is also quite significant. Now, this is the golden integral and this is the matrix. I mean, if you just summarize the whole thing, then this is the matrix of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Now, even if you look at 9.34, it occurs 315 verses from 2.11, and from 9.34, 18.65 is exactly 315 verses. And please remember, 9.34 and 18.65 are exactly the same except for the last line. Right? That is Atmanam Matparayanam, and here Manmana Bhavantu Madhyadi Namnaskuru Prati Jane Priyosi. So the only difference is the last line as such. So you can see that the symmetry 9.34 to 18.65 is exactly the same number of verses as it is from 2.11 to 9.34. Okay. Now, so this is what we call as the hermeneutic circle of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, this word hermeneutic basically means, it's a Greek word which means that the whole depends on the part and the part depends on the whole. So basically it's a vicious cycle. That means to understand the whole thing I need to know the parts, and to understand the part I need to know the whole. So therefore it's a vicious cycle where one may think that we cannot understand only the whole thing, but that is how the Gita is actually designed, where one part leads to the other in a beautiful circular fashion. So please remember, till now whatever we have discussed is a circular understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is actually not just starts at 1 and ends at 18. That is you could say a very a preliminary understanding. But this understanding talks about it in a circular fashion, and that's why here we are calling it as a hermeneutic circle, where there are themes reflected across the circle, symmetrically reflected. The same themes are reflected. Like here, if you see, very beautiful. If you observe this, chapter 1 and chapter 11, you see wherever it's dotted. I think I'll need to stand for this. So this exactly is symmetric to this. So chapter 1 is beholding the armies, and chapter 11 is universal form. So what's the similarity? If you observe, chapter 1 is the place where Vyasa is giving mystic vision to Sanjay. And chapter 11 is the place where Krishna is giving divine vision to Arjuna of the universal form. Chapter 1 is the place where Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, behold the armies. And in the chapter 11, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, behold my universal form. Actually, if you see, only two places the word behold is used in the entire Bhagavad Gita. That is chapter 1 and chapter 11. Not just that, in chapter 1, Duryodhana says to Dhritarashtra that, Duryodhana says that, there are, see the phalanxes arranged by the enemies, but so many people are ready to fight and die for me. Duryodhana says like that. And at that place, Prabhupada writes a purport that actually, Duryodhana is also, and should understand that actually they are really going to die. It's just a matter of time. They're already killed by the, time. It's just that the time is separating them. So basically, here, the armies are there. Arjuna wants to see them. And here, the same armies are going into the mouth of the universal form. It's the same. In 11.
Yeah, 11 is there.
This is 1 is 11. So basically here the armies are there, still alive. And in chapter 11 they are going into the mouth of Lord. As Arjuna is saying, just like there are endless rivers flowing into the ocean, in that way all the soldiers are going into your mouth. So basically you will observe that, the partial understanding is given to Arjuna in the first chapter and that is completed in the 11th chapter. Where not only he shows the universal form and Arjuna says, I can't see this form, Lord comes into this beautiful Saumya Rupa, that is the two-handed Shamsundar form. So basically the first and the 11th are directly symmetrical. And that you'll also observe that the number of verses in the first, if you start from 1 to 46, and then there is the second chapter which 10 comes to 56, and chapter 11 is 55, almost the same. Actually the first was spoken by Dhritarashtra also, so we may not consider that, but it's very similar, 55 and 56. Now if you come to chapter 2 Chapter 2 talks about several things. Sankhya Yoga, devotional qualities are there. Qualities of one who is in transcendence. But basically, if you see, the chapter 2 reflects over here into chapter 12 and 13. Now, this is not marked as dotted, it is just plain. So, how does it do so? In chapter 2, for example, Arjuna asked this question: Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha? What is the activities of a person in transcendence? And that is actually answered, of course, not directly, but indirectly, or maybe in another time from 12.14 to 20, where Lord Krishna is delineating the qualities of a devotee. You will see that it exactly comes in the 12th chapter. Not just that, afterwards when the Sankhya Yoga starts in the second chapter, as soon as that part begins, there it takes over in the 13th chapter. The 13th chapter is nothing but that, the Sankhya Yoga. So this Buddhi Yoga, which the initial part, the knowledge of the soul and the body, culminates in these, 350 verses actually. If you observe, this total thing is 432, we already discussed. 432, the southern hemisphere. But from here, that is from the middle of the second chapter, if you go towards the 12th chapter, it comes to be around 350 verses. So basically, that culminates, Buddhi Yoga basically culminates into the 12th chapter where he is talking about devotional service. Now, this is about the, not just that, even in 14th chapter, Lord Krishna talks about some qualities of the devotee. So if you add up those verses along with 12 and 13, it comes out to be exactly equal to the number of verses in chapter 2, which is over here 62. So chapter 12 and 13 put together have 20 plus 55 verses. And then there are 4 or 5 in this 14th chapter and 1 in 15th chapter. That totally comes to be again 62, which is exactly the number of verses in this. Then if you look at chapter 3, it exactly is symmetric to 15 and 16. How is that? Because chapter 3 talks about karma yoga. Basically how one should not give, but it's not about giving up your duty, but it's about performing the duty in the right consciousness. So that again, and not just that, it talks about how a person gets entangled. The root cause of one's suffering is attachment to fruitive activities. So that is explained in the 3rd chapter. So that root cause has been again explained over here in the 15th chapter when the Lord talks about the inverted banyan tree, isn't it? Where he says that the banyan tree which is inverted is nourished by the 3 modes. He says it's nourished by the 3 modes. And here the same thing, Lord is talking about how the 3 modes are making the conditions will run from hither and thither. So this is pretty similar to the 15th chapter. Another interesting thing, this is something which I really was spellbound to see. In chapter 3, Lord Krishna talks about lust, exactly 6 verses. I mean, in the literal translation, if you see starting from Kama, Yesha, Krodha, Rajoguna, Samurtama, Mahashana, Mahapapna, Vidyanam, Ihavarinam. After that, he talks in 6 consecutive verses about this lust. At least in the word form, Prabhupada has translated it 6 times. And if you go to chapter 16, Divine and Demoniac Natures, where he talks about the 3 gates to hell, lust, greed and anger, exactly 6 times it comes, there also. The lust word and the different verses which are talking about lust.
In the translations.
In the translation, which is also in the verse. So Kama, the word Kama which comes. So you will see that again the 3rd and the 16th are mapping. And if you add the number of verses over here, the 3rd chapter has 43 verses and the 15th and 16th put together also has 43 verses. Because the 15th has 20 and the 16th has 24. So 44 actually. It's almost the same. Now comes another interesting thing, the 10th one. The 10th chapter is directly connected to the 18th chapter. How is that? In the 10th chapter, which is the, if you look at 10 point...
You have written 4 to 10 there, 4 to 10 here.
Yeah, actually, it's not 4 to 10, it is 10th actually, there is a mistake over there. I have just taken it from the book, it's not 4 to 10. So, 10th chapter is Vibhuti Yoga section. From 10.11 is the Chatushloki last verse. 10.12 onwards, Arjuna starts surrendering to Krishna, right? He says that, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramamma, Purusham, Shashvatam, Divyam, Madhyavam, Madhyavam. And then he says that, Ahusvam, Vishya Sarve, Devarshi, Narada, that is the second. And then the 10.15, which comes, there he talks about, what is that? Ritam, what is that verse? Where he says, whatever you say, I accept as truth. Right? Yanma Madhisi Keshava. Right? He says that whatever you say is truth. Now amazingly, if you see, that verse is reflected in the 18th chapter, 0.73 verse, 18.73, where he says, that means they're also saying the same thing. I accept whatever you're saying, I accept it. You're also saying I accept it. Not just that, after that, when the Vibhuti Yoga section starts, where Yadya Vibhuti Matsattvam, Shri Madhuritamev, Tatta Deva Vatsatvam, Mamate Vamsha Sambhavam, where he's saying it's just a spark of my splendor. Whatever beautiful, glorious and opulent creations you see, that again comes over here in the 18.73 to 78, where Sanjaya is saying that I'm feeling so thrilled and I'm feeling so joyous. Here and again recollecting that conversation between Krishna and Arjuna and the opulence of that, of the Lord, he actually describes, not in a very detailed way, but in a small way. But it culminates in 18.78 where he says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurvara, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir. Now if you observe, the Shri Vijayo Bhutir are all there in the 10th chapter, in different verses. Victory, extraordinary morality, victory, opulence and success. All of them are there in different verses in the 10th chapter. So the 10th chapter perfectly maps to the 18th chapter. So the point over here is that the Bhagavad Gita is moving in a circular fashion. It's not that, it's not a stereotyped way of speaking. That's why Krishna is such an expert teacher. Like for example, here he speaks about Sankhya, and then here he comes into core exclusive bhakti, right? That is the middle 6 chapters. And it ends over here, right? The height of bhakti comes over here, 9.34, Manmana Bhavabhakta, 10.8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, and then 12.20. And as soon as the height of bhakti is over, again the circle goes to the other side. And it starts with Samkhya Yoga, that is the 13th chapter. Then again there is 15.19, which is Guhyatamam, and then again there is a gap, and then again there is 18.65 onwards. So basically it's moving in a circular fashion beautifully from one to the other. That is why this is a, what we call as a hermeneutic circle. Okay, now this is the last 2 slides. The 3 modes. If you observe actually, the 3 modes are very beautifully placed, in different parts of the Bhagavad Gita. If you see, 14.5 to 26 and 17.1 to 22. These are the main verses where Lord is speaking about the 3 modes. And both of these are exactly 22 verses each. Okay, you can see this one. This is 14 point, the last few verses, and this is 17.1 to 22. And they are exactly symmetrical to the 15th chapter. Exactly the first 22 in the 17th chapter and the last 22 in the 14th chapter. And then whereas he speaks about the modes, 18.19 to 46. So that's 22 plus 22 plus 22, 66 verses. Not just that, these are the other verse numbers.
Actually 18.19 to 40.
Yeah, sorry, that's 40. That's 40.
22 is correct, but that 40.
Yeah, that's 40. That's a mistake. That because then only it's 22 and plus he speaks only till 40.
He speaks only till 40.
Yeah. So now this is 66 and in between you see everywhere 3 is written. Those are some groups here and there where Lord Krishna speaks about the 3 modes. If you add up all of these, in the last 6 chapters there are exactly 90 verses. In the first 12 chapters, 10 verses speaking about the 3 modes, which makes it exactly 100 verses and also in this symmetrical way, 22, 22 and 22. And if you go a bit deeper, then there is this analysis as well, which you can do. 90 plus 2 into 22, 134. So basically the 3 modes are again symmetrically placed. Now, if you look at, actually one verse we missed out was 12.20. Till now we have been looking at the gap between the Guhyatamam verses. Now if you look at this, there are a total of, in each of these 3 segments, 117 verses are there. Starting from 2.11 till 4.11, that is the last verse of that section, 4.3 to 11. Starting from 9.30 to 12.20 and 15.20 to 18.65. So in each of these there are exactly 117 verses. Please remember, previously we didn't take 18.65, we started at 18.55. So that we just took the first verse, now we are taking the last verse. We took 4.3, now we are taking 4.11, right? So we are taking the last instead of the first, so you add basically that 9 factor, you get 117. Now what is 117? 117 forms a golden ratio with 72. 72 is already, we have seen the beauty of 72. So many, we had 4 domes of 72 verses containing the essence in them. So 72 protects, as we mentioned here, the most confidential knowledge and pointing precisely to the jewels. Now, the question is, how can this mystery be revealed? I mean to say, the whole point of Gita is, how do we attain that the devotional service? The answer is obvious. It is only possible through bhakti. But these bhakti verses themselves are placed very, very beautifully. Now, till now we saw the Guhyatamam verses. What about the Bhaktya verses, where Lord is saying, only my devotee can understand me, only my friend, as a friend you can understand me, right? Only through devotional service you can understand me. So, these verses, if you see, the upper golden ratio of 117 is 189. Now, the lower golden ratio was 72. The upper golden ratio is 189. So, what is the beauty of this 189? There are 4 verses, 6.2324, 6.47, 11.54 and 12.20 and 18.54, which are all placed in these intervals of 189 exactly. That means the distance between the Bhaktya verses are again 189. Just like the distance between the Guhyatamam verses was 198. 198 was the golden ratio of 322. 189 is the golden ratio of 117, but upper golden ratio. It is not the lower golden ratio. So here you observe, this is how it is placed. The 3 189s which we mentioned, right? So here you have this this verse over here. Yoginam api sarvesham is the exact 6, not exact because this is 6.40, right? But Yoginam api sarvesham is 6.47, so it comes slightly actually this way. So basically these are the verses. I put it over here. 6.47 Yoginam api sarvesham. Then 11.54, that is only by undivided devotional service I can be understood. This is again a Bhaktyamam verse. 12.20 already we have discussed, which is the axis, horizontal axis, and 18.55, which is basically again Bhaktyamam Vicharanati. So all these 4 verses are separated, between themselves by 189 verses. Now, not just that, you will see there is a number over here. What is that number? You will see that, yes. Yeah, there is a number 55. Can you see that here? That 55 is another special number. What is that? This is the thing. Wherever Lord Krishna talks about transcending the 3 modes, if you take those verses, they are located at exactly, not 55, if you include the first verse it's 55, if you exclude the first verse 54, 54 verses from the beginning of that particular quadrant, means the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. So this is how it is. Now look at this. From 2.11, this 55 is written only the number, but that is basically 2.54. Then from here, the 55th verse, that is from 6.47. If you take the 55th verse, 6.47 means it's basically 7th chapter because 47 is the last verse of 6th chapter. So if you take the 55th verse, you get 11.55, which is undivided devotional service. Only by that you can attain me. From 13th, that is 12.20 is nothing but 13 only. That's why.
From that side it's 55, not from the 7th chapter.
No. Prabhuji, see.
That's not 11.5.
Huh?
This is 6 point, what should I say, the...
1 minute, yeah, see, this is 6.40. This is 6.40. Then yeah.
From that side, from the...
11.55 plus 20. No, 11th chapter is only 55 verses actually. Then after that 12th chapter only 20 verses are there. No, 1 minute. So basically, 20. And from here, from 6.40, it's another 55. So 6.40 and 55, yeah, it will not be 11.55. Yeah, I think there is a mistake here. 1 minute. 2. It's 8.2. Sorry, yeah. 8.2. And then there is 14.20 and 18.5. Not 11.5. I'm sorry. So what is this 8.25? Let's just see that. Yeah, here it is. So 2.54 is the one where he's asking, Siddha Prajna se kya bhasha? Then there is this one where he talks about 14.20, where he's talking about the embodied being able to transcend the 3 modes of associated with the material body. 8.24 is actually talking about passing away. Now it is not a direct, Bhaktya verse, but
these are not Bhakti verses, they are all about transcendence. No?
Yeah, that's what.
18.54 is Brahma Bhuta Prasannatmana.
Yes. So in this case, 8.24 also, it's not directly talking about transcendence as such, but indirectly. For example, it's talking about those who know the Supreme Brahman attained by passing away in a certain time. And then 18.54, of course, that is that famous verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatmana. So all these 4 are at intervals of 55, as we have seen. The qualities of the devotees. These are all the places where it is mentioned, and all of these are separated by exactly 189. You will see wherever it starts and ends. For example, third chapter, fourth chapter, then 7.17 to 18, 18.28 to 29, 10.9 to 10, 12.13 to 20. All these verses are separated by 189. That means it's the gap between two of them is one, not every two of them, but as per these lines. As per these lines. Now they have not exactly written all the numbers. That's why it's a
from the
bit.
starting to the end. It
Yeah.
shows where it starts and where it ends.
Yeah. So it's not very clear over here, but since it will take a lot of time.
4.3, next 189 is 10.9.
Yes.
So from 7.29, the next 189 is 12.13. That way.
Yeah. Wherever it starts and ends. Basically, wherever that circular arc is starting and ending.
That is the difference is the length of this circular arc is 180.
Exactly. It's not that they are non-intersecting. They will be intersecting.
And these are the bhakti. What?
These are the qualities of the devotees.
Point
See.
is the same, similar themes of Bhagavad Gita are placed at the same,
Symmetrically.
Yeah.
same verse interval.
Exactly.
That's the point. You understood that?
Exactly. So we saw Bhujyatamam, we saw Bhaktyamam, and this is the third one we are seeing. All of them are at equal intervals.
Krishna was under tremendous pressure.
It's very natural for him. For us to understand his pressure.
But even then, 12.13 to 20 and 16.1 to 3 are the most important verses for the qualities of a devotee, right? Even amongst all the others, these are considered the most important. So if you look at the symmetry, from 9.34 to 12.13 is exactly 117 verses, and then from this 16.1 to that is 18.65. Manmana Bhagavat Bhakta is exactly 117 verses. So basically, 9.34 as we discussed is mirrored into
That
18.65.
means similar themes are coming at exact intervals.
Yeah.
That is golden ratio.
That's golden ratio also.
Yeah. 117. So you see that.
Krishna ने mathematically work किया भगवद गीता. And that is the whole point we try
Are
to
they
do.
going to include all this in Bhakti Shastri also?
Okay.
फेल हो जाएंगे.
Okay.
Sense gratification easy रहेगा.
गणेश शास्त्री.
Okay.
वो तो already भाग गए बेटे. हमारे किसी को बोल के भाग गए. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm really sorry for boring all of you. You are idiots. I don't think, forgive me for the working.
Now the balance.
Okay, now the perfect balance, the conclusion of all that we have discussed today.
What was the last part?
Everyone is searching for their hypothetical theorem.
So even if you didn't understand anything today, but if you can understand this, that is the success of today's presentation. Okay, so now you see here, the southern hemisphere already we have discussed. 432 is 3 times 144. And we have already discussed what are those three groups of 144, right? Now the northern hemisphere also amazingly has one group of 144 verses. What is that? I haven't read. I'll just go back. Yeah, here it is. Just to give you all a recap, I put this photo. Yeah. Now look at this. Northern hemisphere also has this 72 plus 72 exactly, which is 144. So that means now if you combine the northern and southern, how many groups are there of 144 verses?
4 groups.
4 groups are there, right? So now if you add all these 4 groups, what do you get? 4 into 144, right?
576.
Exactly 576 you will get. Which is the 144 verses. 144 into 4. So what remains now in the Bhagavad Gita?
124.
Right. So exactly 124 is. Can you see? These are the 4 144 groups and 62 remains, which is 124. Now this is a very symmetric circle, as you can see. The angles are all equal. I mean this and this sectors, for example. Now amazingly, this 576 and 124 has another meaning in the Bhagavad Gita. Can anybody guess what is that?
5.76, 1.2.
No.
976 है ही नहीं.
5.76 है ही नहीं. 576, the number 576 has a speciality in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that? So basically,
18 is
total is 18. Oh wow. 576.
Interpretation.
Yeah. Good. That's a good.
added in the next lecture.
Yeah, but yeah, probably that is one. Another very interesting point is that 576 is exactly the number of verses which Krishna has spoken in the Bhagavad. Exactly. Krishna spoke 576 and remaining Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya, Arjuna spoke 124. Dhritarashtra spoke 1, Sanjaya spoke I think 7 verses and Arjuna Here it is. Dhritarashtra spoke 1, Sanjay spoke 39 and Arjuna spoke 84. So the total comes to exactly 124. And Krishna spoke 576. So you see that, although this, what Krishna spoke 576 is not equal to that 576. We are not saying that. But the symmetry is there, the numbers are there, 576, which can be got in another way as well. Right, so these are some of the interesting things which are there. This is just 30% of this book. I have not even actually, gone much into it. But this is the part 2 in the next sitting or wherever.
ऑलरेडी लोग कम हो गए आजकल कोई आते नहीं मीटिंग को बाकी छुट्टी का
बाप रे।
And third, there is also a third sitting for this if somebody is interested. Cosmology, Vedic cosmology.
That you can make
चैतन्य
it the-
चरितामृत
चैतन्य चरितामृत not yet.
उसमें भी है क्या
Fifth canto का हाँ नहीं इसमें है ये ब्रह्मलोका से महालोका जनलोका तपलोका up to पाताललोका. They are all in golden ratio. Yeah. So उसका description है.
बना
अगर interested है audience तो we
There
can.
is not only interested audience. Our bro is very enthusiastic. At least one person is assured. So we say Abdullah bro.
So I would like to beg again humbly forgiveness from all devotees for boring you and I just try to present whatever. Thank you.
all those who
Very
say
good.